Is the presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
So we obtained last day the expression for the kth central moment of the exponential random variable, if you remember. Earlier, we obtained the expression for the expectation, the mean square value, the variance, all right, independently from the first principles. Now I have obtained the general expression for the kth central moment. So if you just, from this expression, if you try to evaluate the central moment that we have already obtained, the second central moment, just as a check, uh, the zeroth central moment, if you substitute k equal to 0 here, all right, that should come out as 1, the zeroth central moment. K equal to 0 substitution there, it means 0 factorial is 1, and ultimately it will come out as 1. That is in corroboration of the basic observation that we had. Now, regarding the variance, the second central moment, from this expression you are getting the second central moment as 1 by lambda square, which is in conformity with what we have derived from the first principles. The third central moment is obtained from here as 2 by lambda cubed, and the fourth central moment is 9 by lambda to the power 4. From these expressions, and because we have already obtained the value of the standard, I mean the standard deviation, what is the value of the standard deviation? It's 1 by lambda. Interestingly, for this distribution, the expectation of the random variable is 1 by lambda. The standard deviation is also 1 by lambda. So because we have a knowledge of sigma x, and we also have derived the expression, the value of the third central moment and the fourth central moment, we have obtained here the coefficient of skewness and the coefficient of kurtosis, which are actually dimensionless quantity. So just see that they don't involve the value of lambda. Whereas the third central moment and the fourth central moment, they involve the value of lambda, the coefficient of skewness and that of kurtosis, they don't involve as expected. And because this coefficient of skewness is positive, it means that the tail points towards the right. It is skewed, the density function is skewed to the right of its mean. That is what is the implication. So you write down this part. Probably you have written down this one, isn't it? If that has been done, then you start writing from here. Just 1 minute. Yes. After you complete writing down, please let me know. I'll move on to the next part. Have you written it down? Is it done?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now a problem. Suppose x is a continuous random variable that is exponentially distributed and say the parameter lambda is unity. You have been asked to compute the probability that x is in excess of 7, either equal to or in excess of 7. Probability that capital X is greater than equal to 7. And the corresponding Markov, Chebyshev and chain of bounds. So exact probability is very simply obtained. It's the integral of the exponential distribution density function. Just remember that lambda is 1 here. So integration should extend from 7 to plus infinity. Comes out as 0.309. Very small. Now, to apply the Markov's and Chebyshev's inequalities, for applying Markov's inequality, you require information about the expectation. Here, the expectation is 1. Expectation for exponential random variable is 1 by lambda, so it's 1 here. Sigma x squared is also 1. Standard deviation is also 1. Now, with these values, we can use the expressions. I mean, what we have derived as Markov inequality and Chebyshev inequality, they can be applied. So far as Markov inequality is concerned, the corresponding bound is obtained as probability of x greater than equal to 7 is less than equal to expectation of x divided by 7. All right, this is according to Markov's inequality. So it comes out as 0.143. Very loose bound, I should say. To what extent will it improve with Chebyshev's inequality? Because in case of Chebyshev's inequality, you are using the expectation as well as the variance. Therefore, here, the probability of x greater than equal to 7 means the probability of x minus 1 greater than equal to 6. So this is less than equal to sigma x squared by 6 squared. That means 1 by 36 comes out as 0.028. So it has improved definitely, but if you compare it with the exact value, this bound is loose, somewhat loose. Will it improve with Chernow's bound? For Chernow's bound, we require a knowledge of the moment generating function. So it was obtained as lambda by lambda minus s. Moment generating function, if you recall, it is the Laplace two-sided Laplace transform of the density function with s replaced by minus s. So this is how you obtain the bound. The probability of greater than equal to x greater than equal to 7, it's less than equal to the right hand side, whatever is written on the right hand side. So right hand side, to obtain right hand side, you find out the derivative of e to the power minus 7s by 1 minus s and equate it to 0. So you get this one as uh, s equal to 6 by 7. 0 is some mistake here, I think. Comes out as this is equal to 0. So this is equal to 0. So s equal to 6 by 7. Make this correction here. Therefore, the probability of x greater than equal to 7 is less than equal to e to the power minus 7s by 1 minus s with s replaced by 6 by 7. That is what is meant by this expression. All right. So it's 7 into e to the power minus 6 comes as 0.017. It is not much improvement, but there is some improvement over the Chebyshev's bound. Now it is observed that for sufficiently large small a, the Chernow's bound on probability of x greater than equal to a, that is always smaller than the bound obtained by Chebyshev's inequality. And this is again smaller than the one obtained by Markov's inequality. However, for small a, if a is not large, if a is not deep into the tail, this may not be the case. If time permits, I'll cite one example. I have to find out some example. So remember here, this should be equal to 0. Write down this problem and the solution.
Okay, sir, we have written it.
Okay, so be careful here, it's equal to 0. Hmm. After this, you have another problem, another numerical, not, yes, numerical problem. Statement of the problem is given here. There is an internet router that can send packets of information via two alternative routes, route 1 or route 2. Now, in every route, obviously, there will be a delay in transmission. So the packet delays on each route, they are assumed to be statistically independent exponential random variables with parameter lambda. And so the difference in delay between route 1 and route 2 denoted, if I denote that by capital X, it has a Laplacian density function with parameter lambda. So although it's not stated here, one of your tasks will be to prove it, what has been stated, that the difference between two exponential random variables with the same parameter, if they are statistically independent, then this difference will be a Laplacian random variable. And you are also been asked to find out the probability that x lies in the range -3 to -2 or x lies in the range 0 to 3. So that is the problem. So this is just a pictorial depiction. The router is here. So these are the two alternate routes, route 1 and route 2. Time delay via route 1, let that be represented by y, and time delay via route 2, let that be represented by v. So what has been represented here as x in the problem, statement of the problem, x is y minus v. Difference in delay between route 1 and route 2, remember. All right. So it's stated that according to the statement, y and v are statistically independent exponential random variables. And it's categorically stated that the difference between the two will be a Laplacian random variable. First, just the proof. Because the density functions of y and v, they should be exponential. This is the expression for the density function of y. So the characteristic function, it's phi y j omega, it will be 1 by 1 minus j omega by lambda. Because we obtained expression for the moment generating function of the exponential random variable. Simply there in place of s, I have substituted j omega. So that gives the moment generating a characteristic function. Now for the random variable v, the characteristic function will be same because v is exponentially distributed with the same parameter. Now come to x is the difference between y minus v. So the characteristic function of x, according to the basic definition, it's the exponential of e to the power j omega x. So it's expectation of e to the power j omega y minus v. In place of x, I have written y minus v. That means it's the expectation of the product of two exponential functions. Because y and v, they are statistically independent, therefore e to the power j omega y and e to the power minus j omega v, they are also statistically independent. All right. So this expectation of the products will be equal to the product of the expectations. That follows from the condition that is to be satisfied for by the statistically independent random variables. So phi x j omega, it's the product of expectation of e to the power j omega y and expectation of e to the power minus j omega v. First one is simply phi y j omega. Second one is phi v j omega, but with a negative sign here, with omega replaced by minus omega. So the expressions for these two, because they are exponential random variables, are given here. They are multiplied. So Fourier transform of fx, the density function of x, it's phi x minus j omega is the Fourier transform of the product of these two. All right. Fourier transform, the product of the Fourier transforms of fy and fb. So this is that product. So it's lambda square by lambda plus j omega into lambda minus j omega comes out as lambda by 2 into twice lambda divided by lambda square plus omega square. Recall your knowledge of Fourier transform. Lambda by 2 is a constant. All right. And you have a Fourier transform 2 lambda by lambda square plus omega square. Does it appear to be known to you, this expression for the Fourier transform? 2 lambda divided by lambda square plus omega square. It is simply, it's a Fourier transform. This one is the Fourier transform of e to the power minus lambda into magnitude of x. You studied it for x equal to time, but here x need not be necessarily time. So lambda by 2 is there, and the inverse Fourier transform of 2 lambda divided by lambda square plus omega square results in e to the power minus lambda into magnitude of x. So it's a Laplacian density function. Now, because it's a Laplacian density function, this is the nature of the Laplacian density function. So the probability that is required is the union of these two events, x greater than equal to minus 3 less than equal to minus 2 and x greater than equal to 0, or x greater than equal to 0 less than equal to 3. These two events, they are disjoint events, they don't overlap. So the probability of the union of these events is the sum of the individual probabilities. So these probabilities are to be computed and then simply added. Just see here, this is fx. So probability of x greater than equal to minus 3 less than equal to minus 2 is given by this area. And it's obtained in this way. Integration over minus 3 to minus 2 fx comes out as half e to the power minus 2 lambda minus e to the power minus 3 lambda. What about the other event? X lying in the range 0 to 3. That probability will be given by the area under fx from 0 to 3, indicated by this shaded region. So that will come out as minus half e to the power minus 3 lambda minus 1. If you add these two, you will get this expression for the probability that you require. Write down. So I am trying to solve quite a few problems, and I'll also send you problem sheets to both the sections. Remember, that's the usual practice. করো না, মিটিং আছে আমার, মিটিং আছে। So that is actually the proof that it will be a Laplacian random variable. The numerical part is quite easy. So this is the required probability. if you have completed, just a point to note here regarding a particular nomenclature. I think you have completed.
Yes, sir.
Now just refer back to the statement. So the delay, uh, now the statement really come to this part. So time delay here by via route 1, that was represented by y, and time delay via route 2, that was represented by v. And it was stated that delay on each route, they are statistically independent exponential random variables with parameter lambda. So y and v, first of all, they are statistically independent random variables. Secondly, both of them are exponentially distributed with the same parameter lambda. Such random variables, they are known as independent and identically distributed random variables, abbreviated as IID. Independent and identically distributed random variables. So here y and v, they are such IID random variables, independent and identically distributed. Now exponential distribution, it's a very important application is in reliability engineering. So it's used to model the life or the time until failure of electronic devices in general. Can be electronic devices or electronic components. Just as an example, typical example, lifetime of a semiconductor chip, it might be modeled as an exponential random variable with a mean of say 40,000 hours. All right. Now, one important property of exponential distribution is the lack of memory property or memoryless property. So that, what's the implication of that memoryless property? It indicates that the device or the component under consideration, it doesn't wear out. That means irrespective of how long the device or the component has been operating, the probability of failure in the next 1,000 hours is same as that in the first 1,000 hours of operation. 1,000 has been just considered as an arbitrary value. It could have been 500, it could have been 10,000. So probability of a failure in the next say 5,000 hours is same as that in the first 5,000 hours, like that. So that is the significance of the memoryless property. All right. We will next move on to the gamma distribution. Probably in the other part, gamma distribution will be required. I am not sure. 40,000 is a typical value. It could have been 10,000 or 20,000 or something else also. It means 1 by lambda is 40,000 hours. So lambda is the reciprocal of 40,000. To introduce the gamma distribution, let me start from the complete gamma function that you have studied. Why it is called a family of gamma distributions, it will be clear to you soon. Now, for beta greater than 0, the complete gamma function with an argument beta could have been other symbols also anyway. So gamma function with an argument beta, it is defined in this way by this integral. That is the complete gamma function. Integration over 0 to infinity x to the power beta minus 1 times e to the power minus x. Integral of that. So as a result of this integration, x will, in the result of the integration, x will not be present, obviously. What will be present will simply be beta. So that is the complete gamma function. Now just the salient properties of gamma function for recapitulation. For any beta greater than 1, the gamma function of beta, it will be beta minus 1 into gamma function with argument beta minus 1. It can be obtained via integration by parts. For any positive integer beta, if beta takes on positive integral values, then gamma function with argument beta is simply beta minus 1 factorial. All right. Gamma function, when beta is half, the complete gamma function has a value of root over pi. Now, when beta is 1, the gamma function will be 1. Now, gamma function therefore can be interpreted, it can be considered as a generalization of the factorial of non-integer values. So as a generalization to non-integer values of beta in beta minus 1 factorial. All right. So that can be an interpretation of the factorial of non-integer values represented by this gamma function. Now, this is the nature of the gamma function as versus beta, gamma beta versus beta. Let's consider that we have a function f with arguments x and beta. And this is the nature of the expression for f with arguments x and beta. Just see that this function small f, it is greater than equal to 0. It cannot take on non-negative, it cannot take on negative values. And what will be the integral of fx with x as the variable of integration? It will be gamma beta divided by gamma beta. That means 1. Therefore, this function small f of small x, it serves as a candidate for use as a density function because it satisfies the two basic properties of a probability density function. Now just see a continuous random variable x is said to have a gamma distribution if the probability density function of x is given by this integral. Now I have pointed out that small f x with parameter beta that itself serves as a gamma function, I mean a probability density function, then why have I brought in alpha? If instead of alpha I had kept simply beta there, so that would have been, that is actually a gamma distribution. That is called a gamma distribution. And if you alter the value of beta in such a distribution, by altering the value of beta, the density function can be made to have a wide variety of shapes. All right. Therefore, beta is called the shaping parameter. That could have been sufficient, but we didn't stop there. We introduced this alpha term also. Why? Because besides shaping the density function, we want to have another parameter based on which the density function will either expand along x-axis or get compressed along x-axis. So to introduce such a parameter, we have introduced term in alpha. So beta is called the shaping parameter, alpha is called the scaling parameter. All right. As I have stated, the parameter alpha is called the scaling parameter as its values other than 1 either dilate the probability density function along the x-axis or compress the probability density function along the x-axis. All right. So that is the origin of the gamma distribution. Write down. And because by adjusting beta, we can make the shape vary widely. Therefore, it is called a family of gamma distributions. There is no characteristic shape. Unlike the exponential, the uniform density function, the Gaussian density function, they all have characteristic shapes. But gamma function doesn't have a unique characteristic shape.
Yes, sir.
Remember that two parameter distribution is not new to us. The uniform density function, it was also a two parameter distribution, but there the parameters didn't determine the shape. It has a unique characteristic shape, I mean the uniform density function. The two parameters only determine the location of the density function and the spread of the density function along the x-axis. That was only determined by the two parameters a and b. But here, the two parameters, one of them dictates the shape of the density function. ক্লাস নিচ্ছি তারপরে ইন্ডিকন
Yes, sir.
Now come to the standard gamma distribution. If alpha is 1, the probability density function of a standard random, we say that the random variable is a standard gamma random variable when alpha is 1. So corresponding to that, the density function will be where we started here. All right. from the density function of a gamma distribution, if you want to obtain the expression for the cumulative distribution function, then obviously you have integrate the density function over 0 to x. So I have actually used s as the dummy variable here when I am trying to evaluate the cumulative distribution function expression. In that expression, this is the expression. So substituting the expression for small fs, we get that expression. The reciprocal of the complete gamma function with argument beta has been taken out because the variable of integration is s. There, if you replace s by alpha with z, then ds will be alpha into dz. So we are trying to change the variable of integration from s to small z. So that is then the expression for the cumulative distribution function. Now, this integration over 0 to x by alpha of z to the power minus 1 into e to the power minus z. This is called the incomplete gamma function. All right. So it will depend on beta and x by alpha. This is called the incomplete gamma function. Complete gamma function, we are representing that by capital gamma, and incomplete gamma function is being represented by small case gamma. In the expression for the density function, if you just uh, replace beta with 1 and alpha with 1 by lambda, you will see that the density function becomes that of an exponential distribution. So for beta equal to 1, the gamma probability density function, it has the shape of an exponential distribution. Thus, you may see that by assigning different values to beta, we can make the gamma probability density function approximate other standard probability density functions. Not only that, it may happen that certain data that cannot be fitted into other distributions can be fitted to this gamma distribution. All right. Because it has two parameters. One has the role of shaping the density function, another has the role of squeezing or expanding the density function. Okay, let's stop here. What is there after that? Okay. Stop here. When you complete writing, I'll just log out.
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
Have all of you completed?
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
Okay. So we'll meet on Wednesday.